Good morning, as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning. It is Friday morning, October 11th, year 2024, here at the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and then, of course, the likes of you out there that make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept called public access. I always wanted to um, take advantage of the fact that my involvement with the public access only enhanced existing attitudes and code of conducts and habits, and huge chunks of my journey that identified myself as the person that I wanted to be, especially when it comes to the experimental aspects of the artistic process. Also, having conversations with people that are kind of compatible with my level of aspirations and relationship towards the need to explain and the ability to deliver a smooth ride into the heart of that kind of uh, um, uh, twists and turns that make the whole package of our involvement with whichever title is accompanying it to a conclusion, to fruition, to something that we can coherently use and have it as something that we can show for. Something that just in case the world wants an explanation from us, just in case reality wants a, a description of that which will justify our behavior, so to speak. Sometimes when you're too experimental, people demand that you will talk about the nature of this behavior because they also kind of concerned about that which they don't understand, and they cannot find a way to like it still nevertheless, favor it still nevertheless, look for the positive things that it has to offer, and probably there's more than that than anything, because it will require from them that kind of attitude as a condition to be able to accurately find out what it is that's taking place right there across the fence, something like that. To uh, to realize, and then again, when you speak of public access, you speak about the concept that governs the entity that provides, that is managing to muster the energy and the strength to provide that which it guarantees you and promises you that would be the case. If I invite you to share the space, if I invite you to claim your space, if I invite you to um, make your choices as far as not only expressing yourself, but what kind of the nature of the message, the nature of the preach, uh, the nature of the speech, uh, and the nature of the entertainment that indeed this reality is possible. And then, of course, from that level of hesitation, you grow constantly and gradually into something that you really that you really like, something that you can really appreciate. You observe yourself. You're critical with interpreting that which you experience, but still, nevertheless, you deliver an accurate, honest um description, and you learn two things actually at once, and one of which will be that you're actually getting to understand yourself more and more, and that you can still be partial, even though certain things that you have to place your opinion about would be concerning you and concerning your journey and stuff like that. So I don't really uh, uh, need uh, to accept that so many hurdles are a normal thing in the quest for meaning, in the quest for maybe meaning and then more meaning, and then meaning about that which is meaning and that which is more meaning than meaning, and all this, and it goes forever. But I would rather look at the situation, and then again, I had a lot of conversations with many people that I enjoyed very much, and but there's always this thing that you feel like you need to share and say, like, there's no there's no more pain, there's no more painful than painful, like there's no more confusion than confusion, and there's no more difficulty than difficulty. I mean, yeah, well, I mean, if you really think about it, you could always add, more weight, and that weight will be felt. But then the sensors that indicate the level of the pain are not aware of changes in whether it goes up or down. It's just once it exists, once it's evident, it reduces. I mean, it releases all that it's got, all that it has at its disposal, all at once, always, always. It's like something amazing. It's not like a boxer that going for 15 rounds, and then by round 8 and 9 he was too zealous, too crazy, lost his energy, got really tired, and lost because he was tired, not because he was the underdog. He lost because he made a mistake, technically speaking, on how to approach and how to prepare, and something went wrong. Something very technical by nature. And he lost, and losing sometimes spell for people a complete destruction of a infrastructure that you put in place with trust and with belief and with hope and with knowledge and so much, and you get to a certain level of acceptable certainty that you know where this vessel is going. You know that even if you go to sleep now prematurely and wake up in 4, 5, 6 hours, um, you wouldn't be surprised to find out where that vessel is. It's all going to operate within things that in scenarios that are kind of evident in your mind uh, as far as its composition is concerned. So I just wanted to do something. Like I say, the world outside cannot wait for me. Uh, okay, like this morning, I had a conversation with my friend. He has a lot of health issues and all. He's my age. He's a good guy. He's very, very gifted musician, artist, and we've been together in the early days, 40 years ago, practicing as drummers, and unfolding and digging deep into the meaning of rhythm, configurations, structure, um, timing, accents, and yeah, and he used to practice 13 to 15 hours a day, for real, true. This is not, I'm not making it up. He had three different drum sets. He had the very supporting parents. He had the space, and he had the desire. And late 70s, early 80s, everything happened then in terms of jazz rock and uh, extensive changes in the world of fusion. Rock and roll and jazz and bringing it together, and then the crown above it in the shape of a blues, and all the legends, and it's just fantastic. And we got to see them. We got to see the concerts. We got to become acquainted with drummers and other musicians. Joe Zawinul was a, a supporter of my personally, of my trio of experimental, alternative, if you want to call it freestyle, then, or avant-garde or abstract, or but very experimental by nature, and And so, because he was a unique person, when he heard us, our recording, he was open enough to realize that there's a need to be impressed here. Exactly that. As I said, there's a need. It warrants uh, being impressed. And also, it warrants expressing that and sharing that with the person that you're impressed by. So, Joe Zawinul would be like when he visits uh, with us, or used to when he was alive, of course, with Weather Report. We used to invite him to our studios, and we used to sit with him. And so he says, just show me what you're creating lately. What's your latest recording, whatever. And he will know that actually the latest recording is always this afternoon, because every afternoon we record and we replay all the time, at least 3 months a year in our case. And when he hears the first sound of the music, he will raise his hand and said, "Shh, I want to listen." And listening, he did, definitely. So that goes to show, recollections like these will never leave me. It will never leave the friends that I communicate with when it comes to music. And by the way, we all know that what we do, no matter what, directly, indirectly, knowingly, unknowingly, however you want to slice it, it does affect the world. It does contribute to the world, to its demeanor in a positive fashion, in a solid, balanced, positive fashion. Whether you mean it or not, whether you wear it or not, you are actually guaranteeing that to happen just by way of your silent commitment that indeed you're going to create. You're creating. You're creating. You think about the word. You think about the word that will add to other words that will add to become a sentence. And you think about the sentence that will add to be to another sentence and another sentence, and create all this chain reaction of sentences consisted of words, and then it's just the shape of it, that general block of composition that gives it a final signature to be considered as a poem, or prose or storytelling, poetry, something, whichever the decision will be on the behalf of the person who is interpreting it at that particular time, other than yourself, of course. And you will just enjoy, well, just on the basis of the fact that down the road this is an ongoing thing. You release this material, this is your creation, this is your testimony that you're willing to put the time, and it's free and it's available and it's accessible, and you bump into it and you're a musician, and then you realize there's something here to be considered, and to be attended to, and to prepare yourself to be impressed by it and implement, of course. But when I say benefit from it, I mean to implement, to be able to implement that which you find very attractive and very appealing. You're doing something about it. You happen to be the person that you are going through this kind of sensation, then you find yourself doing something about it, not because you plan to do something about it. It's because it's the extension of who you are. You're gonna do something about it. You're doing something about it. I had that feeling and that sensation since the early stages as a given in my life, because the very, very, very early stages of my desire to create, or my experience as a creator, as an artist, was that it was so difficult, so daunting, and I was always wondering how come it's so. Yeah, I mean, you're going through hurdles, obstacles, this and that, but in some cases it would be like, this is really heavy. I cannot move. It's closing in on me. I cannot do anything. You feel like helpless. But then you take advantage of the fact that when you're confined, you have time to think. You're going nowhere. So thinking I did. And I got to the bottom of it. And it doesn't matter what is the nature of the bottom of it spells. I got to the bottom of it. That means I could decipher it quickly, create subgroups, come back to myself in terms of coherence, reality, straightforwardness, uh, uh, melody, harmony, and then charts and all that. And I uh, decipher it, strain it from within, send it back into the territory where just a second ago it had been deciphered with a with with a, with a different termination and determination, and for the most part, this second introduction, the reintroduction to a place that you just left not too long ago, and then you're coming back with some differences, significant, maybe not noticeable, but significant and quickly enough, of course, it will be noticed. And it 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 it, it was a rejuvenating yet uh, it was like, how come I had to go through so much before I realized what I'm realizing now? It's ridiculous. So your instincts tell you, well, catch the first person that you know, that you happen to know that he or she are creative, and have a chat with them. Tell them, give me an opportunity to save you a lot of hassle and help you bypass all this garbage along the way. Nobody says you have to step over the garbage. You can walk around, or if you want to take it upon yourself, stop, pick it up, package it, take it to the dump, whatever. Yeah, you can do that. But nobody will point a finger at you if you would not do anything about it as far as removing it, because maybe it's not your responsibility. But one thing you can do is not to do the things that you think that is just ridiculous, going over that, that garbage that's there instead of avoiding it. And also, not even waiting to the point where you're going to hit that pile of garbage and then you have to start making choices, deciding, well, am I going to pick it up and I'm going to run it? You finding out quickly enough that there is a way to avoid it completely, that you will never even be able to see it. You just know, okay, it's there. Okay, oh, okay, I'm going here. It's these configurations never interrupted your chain of thoughts, that which relates to the real deal of it all. I mean, the whole real reality that's surrounding that precious concept called creativity, called uh, willingness, called identifying a desire, accepting it, feeling it, becoming one with it, and then and then willingness come to the surface. Okay, so how are we actualizing it? How are we putting it to use? So there's a mechanism there that it jumps right in and informs you that you have an additional support here. It's almost like you've been guaranteed that this first or second or early phases will go through smoothly, and nothing will really manage to interrupt it so much so that it will kind of slow it down, or and prevent it from happening. It's all about, and again, being a part of public access for the last 38 years can teach a person something, a thing or two. In my case, I was more like, well, I didn't really need to reassure myself of why exactly and for real I am a part of public access and enjoying it and taking advantage of it, because there are too many obvious reasons that gets you to a point where you really don't need to discuss the option of that need to take place to begin with, like for real. But then, even if you were to say that you're lucky enough to notice all these things that I just mentioned and are sensitive enough to understand that it needs to be catalogized or categorized or whatever, compartmentalize, or all this kind of shelving, all this goes here, this there, and why, and therefore, and how come, and this and that. So once you go through, and which is very complex, it's wide, it's sophisticated, it's challenging, it's tricky, it's elusive, it's what, but still there's stage two, it's like, and so you're starting to think, oh my God, what, even if you were um even if you were to think about very first step of the second stage. Forget about two, three. I mean, usually, there's at least three. So you're saying to yourself, I'm not so sure that I am either ready or want to just jump right at it and think that it's a good idea. It's a lot, but it's inevitable. So now, and I did talk about it in the first. Well, I did talk about it here in the past, talking about. Okay, now I know that now I am at the second step of the second step of the second stage. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, second step on second phase, not stage. Okay, stage can be also, but phase is a little more. And how I sometimes feel that I cannot fight the possible the moments where I feel like I'm going to have to downgrade myself onto the first step of the second phase because it's just too much too. So sometimes I just release it and put my faith in whatever it is that's going to be resolved between it and Mother Nature or God or whatever, superpowers, whatever, out of my hands. And then I will quickly enough find out whether I get to keep my right to be on the second step of the second phase, or I would have to downgrade myself to the first step of the second phase. Now, these are, it might sound very empty and confusing to you. What is he talking about? But I'm sure that you understand, you can relate to what I'm saying. Because if you're in the business of trying to please the world, wanting, not trying, wanting to please the world, wanting to make the world feel happy for the fact that people like me exist, because I just want to give, just want to share, just want to, even in the most, even if it was to turn out to be as cliche as one can withstand, still, nevertheless, it will be tolerable because you will be the person who will introduce that no matter what perception is out there circling, it's still all about that individual that actually, no matter how you look at him, he's always busy, always creating. He always diffuses you by offering you uh, making you face the music, and maybe it's the music that he wrote. Face the paintings, face the compositions, face the exhibitions, face the concerts, face the poetry books, face that mountain of treasures. And just because you happen to be one of those who can appreciate each one of them, all from beginning to end, now you realize you're dealing with an individual, with a person that is just introduces so much wealth on the behalf of any kind of creative process, any attitude that entails within it the need to use an artistic attitude, artistic process, artistic chain of events, artistic evolutionary process. So maybe people will tell you thanks, but no thanks, which is okay and acceptable. But I don't think I ever encountered that in my life. I know it exists that people say, "Listen, we appreciate, we respect, but thanks, but no thanks." We're fine. It never ever happened to me because if I come to you with my realization and uh, conviction that I have something for you that will be helpful, and maybe there's no doubt that at some point you will say, "Wow, thank you. This guy is really was very helpful." Okay, and in this way, that way, regardless, and I I know about it. I know so much about it. That means I will not approach you to wander together with you. I will approach you to help you wander on your own behalf. Okay. So you wake up into the happening and reality and rhythm of life. And you are who you are, and you're aware of who you are, what your needs are, what you're also aware somewhat to a certain degree, acceptable degree of what it is that's going to be your daily routine. And you abide by this routine and all this, and you're the one who knows that the progress is essential and this and that, so you're doing this, you did that. But throughout the day, with all these wonderful things that indeed you're involved with, you don't have highs or lows. You don't have there's a sense of emphasizing, like, okay, well, so what's important? And then what's more important than others? That you want to understand it. Maybe you will arrive to a conclusion that nothing is more important than anything. Everything is important equally and evenly. That's fine also. But usually you will never get to that point. You will always, if you ask these questions and you'll be honest with yourself, you will be realize that you need to highlight, not more or less, but in different colors, only so you can, when that picture, when that composition faces you head on, you are quickly enough know where you are. You know what the colors tell you. You know how much of this, how much of that, or how this in the relationship to this. You know what it tells you. You kind of have 60 to 70% of the story already evident in front of you. That's a plus. That's a huge plus. That's a plus because this is that much you don't have to worry and deal with and mess with, because your hands are so full with potential engagement with the artistic process. If you're a painter, you need to spend that much more time in front of the canvas. Sorry to break the news to you. It's not going to happen on its own. You're going to go, you're going to make sure whatever you choose, however you choose. Then later on, when we advance together, then I can give you something a little trickier that you can really, really just will it that way. Certain things that will work for you without you taking two things and putting it together, one on top of the other or one inside the other. You don't even need to do that. So when you will it this way, it comes from a source that respects you yet fears you a little bit, won't mess with you. The last thing that you will have to encounter in your life as the one who gives and the one that have goodwill and all of that is that you will be challenged by anything that's supposed to be a part of the effort, because they know better, because it knows better. It knows it's getting nowhere messing with you or dealing with you for the right reasons, for the obvious reasons. Uh, okay, you're approaching me, you're charging at me. Fine. Why don't you just pause for a second? Go and check the contents of this box. Go over it, and then we'll talk. Probably I will never ever get to see you again because it will be so daunting for you to immediately realize that where I sent you, that this center of deposit, amount of the mountain of deposits are just too crazy to ignore and too risky to even contemplate that the person who's responsible for this creation, that I should find myself messing with or challenging or whatever it is, doing being my usual self, which sometimes can be not so appealing, not so balanced, not so much the right thing to do. But we live and learn. So the first step of the first phase, it's normal plus. Still demanding because we're talking about already an artist that happens to be an established one, had an identity, having an identity that is clear to you and maybe most people that know you are. Not a huge group, but it's good. Then painfully, yes, yet bravely, you ascend to the second step of the first phase. That's like a slap in your face. The one that hurts and also shakes you enough to wake you up and keep you awake for longer than you would like to. And that gives you time to think, wait a second, I do have free time. I just don't know how to claim it. I don't know that that's what I need to do. I'm kind of always waiting for you to approach me. So, okay, you solve that because you are the one who would learn something and then implement it immediately, and then you'll benefit with the fruits, the returns. And usually it takes place like this no matter what. And you do that for a long while, and there's things, wonderful things happen. Now you're talking about, you need to go to the third step of the first phase, but you're talking about already the implications of the first step of the second phase. And that is taking all the wind out of your sails, and then you have to breathe faster and more frequent, something like that. but you suddenly realize that the ride between the second step of the first phase to this third step of the first phase was actually smooth and seamless. And that made you feel stronger and happier, but also it made you worry a little bit. So, some crazy things can happen that you will only find out about them after it's supposedly too late, even though we're not talking about bad things. But no matter what, suddenly, because you're not aware of it and it's supposed to be this and that, what if it's not going? What if it's going to be that which we don't think it's going to be, and we're not ready to react and to know what is the proper reaction for this? That I didn't see it coming. Where did it come from? Because I did not consider it as a possibility because it was so remote. But I was stupid enough to ignore it no more. Of course, that for the most part, those who are devoted and dedicated, they can resolve it without actually going into the thick of it, actually like hands-on, like real time, real live encounters. Yeah. Most of the people that I know that are aware of this technique of going up and this, and as you go up, it becomes wider and wider and wider. So I don't really want to talk about that. But you're in the business of creating. You're an artist. You have to be in the business of creating. You're a musician. You have to be in the business of creating nonstop. You're a poet. You have to be in the business of that wonderful metaphors and endless amount of ways to describe your impressions and expressions and feelings and so much and the availability of the tools to help you express yourself are in abundance and they're unlimited, and you just count your blessings, count your blessings, count your blessings, count your blessings. Yeah. And then when you think it's enough and no more, you start counting your blessings all over again, and you count your blessings and you count your blessings and you count your blessings. And counting your blessings suddenly becomes the actual part of that fragment of time that most of the most important creative things are taking place. It's not as if you do this, you do that, then you pause, then you get paid, then you check what it is that you got paid, and you think it's fair enough, then you continue, and you do this, you do that, you progress, you advance, you conclude, you get paid, you check, you see the numbers, that's fair enough. You do this, you do that, you do that, you do this, you march forward, you break through, you get paid. You check it out, you say, that's actually very good. I'm very happy. You do this, you do that, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. Which I mean kind of makes sense, but when you look at all, you take 100 occurrences like this, 100, it's actually pretty much identical, even though the subject matter through which you get that recognition are different because the contents are different. But it's the same thing. You do this, you do that, do this, uh, approval, getting paid, checking out, works. Let's continue. But now you take all this 100 of them, and then and and you take and you put it as a bundle through that attitude. You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. It's already in the hands of that which kind of whatever force energy that's responsible directly to defining and describing and therefore justifying and then realizing and then agreeing, approving, finalizing, paying. And you get paid and you say, it's business as usual, of course, but then you say, and then you realize the magnitude of the moment. Here you're talking about Mother Nature itself in person appears to deliver to you that the news, the compensations in person. And everything is really very, very impressive. And you're very happy, you're very satisfied, content. But this time, you decide to keep it with you. Because usually you realize numbers are right, you're happy, you put it aside so you can continue. Here, the vessel, the machine, the means of transportation has a mind of its own and self-sufficient, and you know that beyond any doubt, and you let it just do its thing. But this, you have put it in your pocket. It travels with you because you can't take certain things with incredible magnitude for granted. Yeah, you cannot. I mean, you could, but it would be a mistake because remember, you're in the business of pleasing the world. When I say pleasing the world, I mean helping the world feel better about itself, but not necessarily. Well, yeah, of course, you want to do things for yourself for the sake of being able to do things for others, i.e., the entire world. I want, with my prayers in the morning, whenever it takes place, I said, please, please, whatever it is, whatever he is or she is, and they are creators, out of the world, unexplainable force and power and energy and light and indefinite and incredible, unexplainable, with no end, infinite, whatever. You you want to understand how it really works and why it works. Now you realize that it's okay. You can take time. It doesn't have to yield all the time. And I mean, never, it's very good. You enjoy that and you realize its benefits. But when it's time to do the real work, it's like uh, like you need to do what you need to do. You got to do what you got to do, and it's inevitable. You cannot just like look at it and say, "Well, let's pretend." Yes, you could pretend, but then you know what the consequences of that will be. So you can actually operate for 2, 3, 4, 5 decades with this kind of attitude and never fail even once. Never catch yourself saying, "Oops, I could have avoided that. That's painful." Almost like getting caught behind a school bus. Yeah, well, of course, if, I know I should respect it and respect because my kids take the school bus, and I know that if there's a driver behind the school bus and he's upset, that energy of his affects the kids in the bus. Like literally, you might think it's stupid, but it's so. But I'm sitting there behind the school bus and saying, "This is the most awful thing. What am I doing? How stupid can I be finding myself stuck behind the school bus?" Things like that. This metaphor. So, yeah. So the best way, because you know that you're never a winner. That means you never find out that you're a winner by doing the right thing after all, even after the fact. By realizing, okay, you're stuck behind the school bus. Shut up. Put the music on, something, step by step. Soon enough, you're gonna be on your merry way. Um, but but you'd rather think, no, no, no. I'm in the business of avoiding that from happening to begin with, and usually I'm successful. Most of the time, if not almost all the times, I'm successful. I never find myself behind that bus because I'm mindful of it. Because I'm mindful of what is it that this moment deprives me from. How is it meddling with my daily plan, which happens to be important? Again, you might observe me and say, "That's pathetic, man." Yeah, I mean, I respect you. You're a great speaker. You're a good thinker. This, that, but there's certain things, man, pathetic. Uh, Definitely don't have the ability to stop you from feeling this way or prevent you from feeling this way. Maybe if you'll come to me and say, "Try to make me understand that I'm getting nowhere with this attitude of mine," I'll be open to that. Then I will do it. But as you know, the world doesn't give us this option. Say, okay, it's your lucky day. Okay, what is it that you want to do away with? What should disappear? What should exist? And what should exist longer than it should? And in all this, it doesn't have. This is fantasy. Even though fantasy is actually more real than that which is not fantasy, really. But that's a whole discussion for another application, so to speak. So, first of all, let me just mention again that we're sitting here on the 11th. Is it 11th? Yes. October 11th, year 2024, on a Friday morning, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. Continue with the tradition of public access. And of course, we've been on the air since 1980, and that's a reason to be very proud and happy. Also, wanted to mention that we're having the ongoing wonderful group art exhibitions for the last 27 years here at LTV. And as we speak, we have the current group art show that's going to be on display, I think, until the 20th which is Sunday, 21st of October. And whom we have is Tommy LaGrassa and um, uh, and why am I blocking his name? Okay, and then we have Chris LaCour, we have Lenore Bailey, we have Steve Ram, and I have a large scale piece here that's probably going to remain through the next show also, just to kind of feel the breeze of magnitude of dimensions. I don't get intimidated easy, if at all, by scale. I love large scale. I love to experiment with scale and all that. So that's going to be, as I said, on display through October 21st. And then I'm curating a show for Micah Marder. Micah Marder is an incredible, wonderful, powerful artist. So I'm producing and curating the show for him this next Saturday on the October 19th at Ashwa Hall from 4 to 8. We're going to be there. It's actually going to open already on the 18th, on a Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 18, 19, 20. Looking forward for you to mark your calendars for that sake. It's a very important show. These are almost 50 pieces that Micah has created in the past about 8 months. Actually created more than that, but I don't think I'm going to show more than 45 or 50. And then Micah's show will travel directly to LTV on that Sunday to be on display from October 21st through November 17th. And then I'm getting ready for a wonderful group art show as we will be approaching Thanksgiving. So I aim to make it really a beautiful show. And that will be like through starting in about November 20th all the way to December 15th. And then we're going to get ready for the group art show that will welcome Christmas and New Year's. Wonderful artistic plans here. It's so easy when you're on the right path and doing the right thing, and then you keep it saying to yourself, I couldn't make it better even if I was to do whatever did I think that I'm not doing now. So I don't think I ever hear myself say that. But you know what? I think that with my long um, monologue, I earned the last bite of my chocolate here. Please bear with me. Mm. Um, and a sip of coffee. Man, I worked hard. 45 minutes. Hmm. I was asking myself, maybe I will take the opportunity Very good. Wonderful. Okay, so I asked myself question and answer just about something that hmm, really. Yesterday? Oh, we don't want that. Yeah, good. So let's see where we stand here. Am I? So you know, just in the same fashion that I can sit here and talk to you for 45 minutes or 1 hour about instinctive things, even though they might end up being really very deep, very meaningful, and puzzling, also confusing, between clarity and confusion, and depth, and simplicity and sophistication. But there's a thread that kind of leads it, and I feel confident enough that if I was to continue with that, I will prevail. I will find myself actually saying, "Oh, oops, time to go." 1 hour went by. So this is about able to perceive a good-looking portrait of a personal squeeze. Now you think about it, it's just a thought that came to my mind. It's a thought, okay? It's a thought. Able to perceive a good-looking portrait of a personal squeeze. Able to perceive good-looking portrait of a personal squeeze. Able to perceive a good-looking portrait of a personal squeeze. A good-looking portrait of a personal squeeze evokes the image. That's an image of an intimate close-up. That close-up view into someone's inner world, capturing the nuance, capturing the nuances of capturing the nuance of their character and emotions, and a squeeze meaning a quick glance of examination, or an examination that suggests that this portrait is not about the exhaustive exploration, but rather about distilling something essential and fleeting, a moment that reveals much in its brevity. So thinking about this thought is such a portrait wouldn't necessarily focus on physical features alone, but on the subtle expressions, gestures, or a brief flicker of emotion that reveals something deeper. It could be a blend of the subject's outer experience and appearance, and the inner complexities conveyed through a certain tension in the eyes, or an unexpected softness in the way they hold themselves. That's a good point to take to heart. The beauty in this portrait that thought was relating to would come from the contrast, the quiet revelation of the personal set against the seemingly simple act of a squeeze, a momentary look that in its simplicity captures profound layers. This could translate into art or poetry that plays with the line between what is seen and what is felt, giving form to the tension between external perception and internal truth. And that in itself is the advance into self realization that you may be able to integrate aspects of your territorial coverings in a more conscious way instead of rejecting everything associated with personal roles. So and the ability to redefine things is always very super important. And I wanted to continue with another piece that actually came from As Good as It. What is it? Your guess is as good as mine. I love that actually. Uh, that's 100. Yeah, that's because it goes with the. Okay, so this is another statement that. Hmm, okay. So another declaration. I saw a real grasp with a whole breathing forward. HOLE with a whole breathing forward. I wonder. This phrase, I saw a real grasp with a whole breathing forward, strikes as a powerful metaphor for the paradoxes of existence and perception. And the thoughts about it is the real grasp could symbolize an attempt to hold on to something concrete, an understanding, a moment, or a truth. But the presence of a whole, HOLE, suggests that even within this grasp, there's an absence, a void. This may reflect how, even when we feel we've captured or understood something, there's always an element of mystery or incompleteness. A part that eludes full comprehension. The whole breathing forward. Actually, I need to just take a little emergency to call someone here really quickly, okay? So just give me a second. Anyway, that was just. I got 4 minutes. I just wanted to finish this thought because it has something to do not only. So, okay. So the whole breathing forward brings an organic, almost lifelike quality to the absence itself. It implies that the void is not static, it's alive, moving, and expanding. This suggests that the unknown or the ungraspable is not something to be feared, but something that propels us forward, an invitation to keep moving, exploring, and growing. In this way, the image presents a dynamic tension between holding and releasing, between knowing and embracing the unknown. It seems to reflect the evolving nature of insight, where clarity always contains within it a space for further discovery, for what lies beyond. It's an active process, a breathing forward into the next stage of understanding. So, anyway, all of this to say that you can just take a little thought and start breaking it down and react and reflect according to isolated words rather than what the sum of the words that get together to form a sentence really mean. It's the playfulness. So if I do that and I ask, why am I doing this? My answer is because that's how I learn to be able to work on 5, 6 canvases at the same time without feeling like I'm cheating, like I'm running out of ideas, but just adapt it as a work ethic, as a work code of conduct for my style of work, my style of implementing and applying paint onto the canvas, onto the surface, onto the wood, and with the brushes, whatever. All of this combined together that speaks and tells the story of of how 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 the possibilities are um, making themselves to evident, and that's the beauty of it. It becomes available when I realize that their access to them becomes evident. Uh, the route that leads me vis-a-vis this journey, uh, uh, granting access, and you have to just notice it and claim it, and you're in. Once you're in, your technique kicks in. And once your technique kicks in, you're unstoppable because your talent, your qualities, they're all going to be reflected through your actions. And I encourage you highly to take advantage and to think outside the box without needing to leave the box, so you can reside within the box thinking outside the box. Do as you please. If you know it will help you to benefit and to get to where you need to get successfully and maybe even faster, won't hurt. Don't let anyone tell you that doing things fast is taking away anything from quality, slowing you down, or unnecessary. This is your choice to make, and I highly encourage you to do things in order to please yourself, as long as you don't hurt people surrounding you in the same token or on the behalf of it. I wish you a wonderful week to come. It's Yom Kippur, actually, for the Jewish community. A very light, easy, soothing fast. And Happy New Year also. And we're approaching Halloween. And before you know it, Thanksgiving. And before you know it, Hanukkah and Christmas. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we hear this um, um, Friday morning, October 11th, year 2024. Here with the Hello Lotion. My name is Haim Mizrahi. God bless.